The effect of measures to curtail the spread of coronavirus disease has been that of different strokes, different folks, especially the stay-at-home order. Some have expressed boredom, some received it as a holiday long overdue, while some took it as a time to loot and attack houses, hiding under hunger despite palliatives and stimulus packages from governments and individuals as well as corporate organizations. Oyo State is not exempted in the increasing spate of crime during the partial lockdown. Some residents are now living in fear of the unknown, with miscreants and burglars making them go through sleepless nights. This is the concern now for those who are obeying the healthcare experts' advice to stay at home. And why is the spate of crime on the increase? This will be our focus today on Panorama, which is actually an abridged edition, reaching you on the network service of NTA. First, the news making rounds. I am Kemi Oshi. Thanks for joining us. Has received delivery of vital health supplies to support the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria on a flight funded by APM Terminals.
The supply is made up of 10,000 test kits, 15 oxygen concentrators, and various personal protective equipment, vaccines, kits, and vital health supplies will support the Nigerian government's COVID-19 response plan and UNICEF's work with children and families in Nigeria. The supply will also support the government of Nigeria through the National Center for Disease Control to prevent the response to COVID-19 pandemic in affected states across the country. The supplies are co-financed by the European Union and IHS Nigeria, the Nigerian subsidiary of IHS Towers. Additional COVID-19 response supplies are expected in a UN joint flight to be delivered to Nigeria in the coming days. The United Nations Resident Coordinator in Nigeria, Edward Cullen, says to limit the spread of the coronavirus, it is important to test as many people as possible, especially those with recent travel history and those who came into contact with travelers. These test kits will support Nigeria's drive to control the transmission of COVID-19 infections and support the government's ongoing strong efforts to protect the country from an escalating pandemic. Since the outbreak of the coronavirus in Nigeria in late February, the UN has been supporting the government of Nigeria to respond to the pandemic through risk communications and community engagement, infection prevention and control, epidemiology, surveillance and management of coronavirus cases, working with government and other partners. In Abuja, Dumi, Dia, NTA News.
The People's Republic of China, in contribution towards the implementation of a coordinated response to COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria, has donated another set of medical supplies. A statement by the Chinese embassy says the new donation was handed over at the cargo wing of Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. The items were handed over by Li Yuan, the Chinese counselor, on behalf of the Chinese government, and received by Deputy Director for International Cooperation, Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Abraham Yakubu, on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria. The items include 1,500 pieces of respiratory mask, 10,000 pieces of surgical mask, 1,750 pieces of disposable surgical gown, 350 pieces of infrared thermometer, 1,750 pairs of medical gowns. Others include 9,750 pairs of gloves, and 9,700 pairs of shoe covers. The items are second batch of medical supplies from the government of China. It has been observed that the rate of crime has increased nationwide during the current lockdown due to COVID-19, with Oyo State not an exception. Security agencies are on top of the game as arrests are made and suspects paraded. In this report, correspondent Rofia Animashan Badmus examines the cause of this prevalence.
Shokelu, a suburb of Ibadan in Oluyole local government area, where Moshood Ekugbemi was on the wanted list of the police, was said to be hiding until his death, had its share of the prevalence in criminal activities. Similarly, Eromo and Lalukpon were visited, where a fight between two area boys was initially misunderstood to be a communal clash between the neighboring towns.
At our own end, it's not a communal fight at all.
Was called that the situation was very bad. I have to rush down to the police station to take police officers.
Members of the Police Community Relations Committee, PCRC, in Oyo State, whose responsibility is to liaise with the police force, brought their minds on the spate of crime during this lockdown.
There is a form we release in our division. In that form, we are going to have the data of every landlord and tenants. Because we discovered that most of the challenges we're having in the land is the issue of these caretakers. They don't care the type of people that are coming to, as a tenant.
Police are on it.
However, police authority in Oyo State has mandated its officers and men to rise up to the occasion. In Ibadan, Rofia Animashan Badmus, NTA News.
With me in the studio is the Commissioner of Police for Oyo State Command, Shina Olukolu. Sir, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, looking at the reports we just watched, I would like you to assess the level of security in Ibadan Metropolis and Oyo State in general.
Well, let me say with all sense of responsibility and honesty that crimes and criminalities are part of dynamics of any society, and there is no place where you have this utopian style. But the thing is, in Oyo State, there are reports, there are stories on WhatsApp, on social media about states surrounding the state. Therefore, people feel that should apply also to Oyo State. But the Oyo State Police Command is on top of the situation. We have had an experience before which we are brought to bear on this situation. Because people come out in large numbers, we also go out there with convoy patrol of different stages, 1, 2, 3. In fact, latest, we have one we call the task force, and this was to deal decisively with those who are about committing crimes or who have committed heinous crimes, including armed robbery and all the others. So I want to appeal to our people to not to panic unnecessarily, but to support the police with useful information and devoid of giving us false alarms, raising false alarms, because that do not serve any purpose. It delays the police action. It denies the people that actually needed the help as at the time they needed it. And this has also dissipated our energy and resources.
Okay, we know that in Oyo State, we don't have this total lockdown. We only have a curfew from dusk to dawn. And of course, it's observed that some are still not complying. What is the police doing about the level of compliance to this order?
We will continue to work on that because we are aware that some people are not particularly ready to abide by the rules, but we are ready to work with other sister security agencies to ensure that that is done. In fact, we keep on reviewing the situation and holding strategic meetings to ensure that people comply, either by persuasion or by minimum force.
Another issue of concern is the fact that we have reports of people on essential duties being maltreated, being rough-handled by security agencies. How are we ensuring that they go about their business without being hurt?
We have a whole lot of directives and instructions from the Inspector General of Police, as well as the law on the movement, so that people, our men are being told, and we will continue to get across to them.
Okay, and I've been speaking with Oyo State Police Commissioner Shina Olukolu? And finally, what will be your word of advice to the residents of Oyo State?
I want to advise them to continue to cooperate and collaborate with us, with the security agencies, so that we can serve them better, and they should endeavor not to do things that will dissipate our energy and give us useful and credible information that will enable us to serve the community better.
Thank you very much for coming on Panorama today. And on this note, we've come to the end of Panorama, reaching you from the network service of the NTA. Good afternoon.
Coronavirus spread.